Hey, old Dinosa, coming for you from my boat as well. um, just wanted to get Jersey Shore. I know it came out tonight. I'm trying to stay on top of it best I can. I've been very busy the last few weeks, or actually last few days, I should say. But couple things. Jersey Shore, season 3, episode 6. Sorry, I had to adjust the camera there. I didn't like that angle. Um, but yeah, Jersey Shore season 3, episode 6 consisted of the kind of the closure of Mike and the wall injury, and also a few of the other drama just starting to bubble in over, and of course Sammy and Ronnie again. This goes back to, well, we've covered it, but anyway, let's start at the beginning. Basically, it's a recap of the whole thing that's been going on with Ron, Sam, and everything. And what this episode mainly focused on was a couple of things. Mike, in a kind of a sign of weakness, was feeling kind of depressed, and it's when you can see someone like him feeling that. Yeah, I could see that, because what happened to Mike is, he's the situation. He's this. He's everything. He had an incident where he banged his head against the wall, and he went to the hospital, comes back, everyone's kind of out, and everyone's feeling bad, but not too bad, because that wasn't, a letter has explained, it wasn't a fight wound, it was a self-inflicted wound, and they want to make sure he's okay, but they know he's getting better. Now, Mike is feeling a little bit sorry for himself. A main reason why is he feels he can't do anything. He can't do anything right. So, he's actually in a rare case of weakness, says he wants to come home on that, because he's hurting, his trip is being affected by this, he's affecting his roommates, and he calls his sister up. And his sister says, no, you stay there, you're going to be fine, you're just feeling sorry for yourself. And for someone like Mike that, usually Mr. Party, having fun, going out, meeting girls, doing all that, to come to a complete stop and not do any of that, because of all things, you yourself bonked your head into into a wall, and then you have a sprained neck, your head's still concussioned. That's hard to take, and that's where you can see Mike is just feeling a little miserable on that, because he feels like he's failing. He feels like he needs a place where he's comfortable in, and that's why he kind of wants to go home. Now, of all people, who comes to him is the man who originally was going to go home, Ron, because he felt he was toxic with Sammy. And Ron actually gets Mike over and talks to Mike, says, you are not going home. I've been where you're at right now. That is not the answer. And I have to say, in situations like that, running home isn't the answer. It's learning to deal with your problem and just deal with it head on. But when you're hurting like that, where your neck is hurting, your head is hurting, it hurts for you to do anything. Just like making yourself like a cup of coffee or something, it just hurts because you had the concussion, and that's largely because your brain is swollen, so the whole head, and plus you're on those medications where you're loopy as hell, as it is, to try to numb the pain, you are just feeling lousy, and you're looking for things that will bring you comfort. In this case, Mike's sister, Mike's family, would bring him comfort while he heals, and because he felt that the people in the house weren't giving him that comfort. But no, in the bromance, as they call it, that. And see, this is one moment in TV when guys are like, hey man, I'm there for you and all that. Nobody's calling nobody gay, because everybody knows Mike's rep and everybody knows Ronnie and Sammy's stories, so nobody's calling anybody gay here on that. But in other shows, people will be like, oh man, on that, but you could understand what Mike was going through, and he was like, I'm gonna man up, I'm gonna do it on that. But later on in that same episode, that him and Nicole had a chat about that little conversation. And interesting enough, Nicole still wants Mike to admit that nothing happened. Mike refused. He said he will apologize to, like, if you listen to what he said, he'll apologize to these people, he'll apologize to those people, and I want you to tell him it's not true. He's like, Nicole, it did. So, I'm still believing Mike a little bit on this one, that Mike, he's telling the truth, and he's not going to apologize for the truth, but he will, apologize for his actions and how he went about it was the wrong way on that. And I'm glad things are kind of patching up for Mike on that aspect. That was one of the main storylines of him hitting the head. And I can kind of attest to that, where you're feeling worthless because you're in pain. And it's not pain you can control, or if you're just sick, like it could be anything, like you break your arm or wisdom teeth or anything. You just, for a period of time when you're under that kind of medication, you just feel like garbage, and the only place, especially if you're away from your home, the only place you feel happy is at your house that you're familiar with, or at your place where you're familiar with, and you know where things are. And in Italy, he doesn't know anything's on. I don't even know if they have a TV, because I haven't seen one. Of course, it'll all be in Italian, but hey, you can learn something. And don't clown. I watched DuckTales in Istanbul in Turkish, or Aramaic, I think. And the only thing I got out of it is fishies is fish. So that's it. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect, which I thought was interesting here, was, well, let's go comedian. I'm being too serious. Comedian. The new line. We had T-shirt time in Miami. It's T-shirt time. Now we have a new thing. And of course, Polly and Vinny came up with it. It's great. They did the Italian tools with the faux hawks. It was classic. We made the whole episode. They could just had a whole episode. Honestly, they could make a whole movie and just call it like the Italian Tools or something, where it's Louis, his alternate, I think it's Louis G or Joey G or something. Something really funny. And the other one's like Louis B. No, Louis. Vinny is Louis, and Polly's Joey G or something. And they're like fist pump, push up, and chapstick. That's the whole thing. And it was absolutely hilarious. Now here's what ticks me off. When I was in college, we did the fist bump. We did the push up, but all the girls did was run the freaking way. So it was one of those things that was thought to be really badass at the time. Wasn't that badass, but I guess you had to be Polly and Vinny to pull it off. But it was classic, and they looked so perfect when they were like, "Oh, Louis, you hit me in the eye," and all that classic stuff. The new costumed Joey G and Louis. They could just make a whole movie with those guys. It'd be so funny. But anyway, that was classic stuff. Oh, and okay, so then that was classic. Then also, we have a little drama with Nicole and her boyfriend in New York, which he's kind of a possessive kind of guy, whereas Nicole says she's having difficulty because he doesn't want like any drama, or he doesn't want this, don't they? And she says, well, I'm this, and it's disgusting and all that. And what I don't understand is this guy was like so offensive to you on that, and non-accepting to you. Why would you be with him on that? That's the weird thing about this, is other than he's doing the opposite of what she would expect. She screams at a bar, he walks away. She talks dirty on the phone, he's like, hey, yeah, don't do that. The guy might be actually a truly upstanding guy, or he's totally playing her. We'll see. Even Mike says, I think it's Giovanni or something, is not for Nicole. And then Nicole really believes it is for her. But, you know, Nicole has been through a bump. I really hope Nicole finds someone good. It's not Mike, though. Definitely not Mike. However, I think there's something there between Dina and Paulie. Because Paulie allowed Dina to do that faux hawk on his head. And Paulie's very territorial about his head. There's something there. And there was, on the previous episode, which I did miss, Dina was sitting on Paulie's lap. So there's something there. It may just be friends. I might be looking too much into it. But it may be something more there on that. But we'll see. I sound like a gossip columnist on that. So that's the thing. The other thing is Ronnie hooks up with Sammy. Now, Ronnie basically went to Sammy and said, "I'm an idiot. I totally screwed up. I love you." The man was a man. Went to her all the way and just said, "I love you. I will always love you. I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. I love you." And she's like, "Well," and she's like, "You did this, you dirty dog," and all this stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, you're right. I did. I'm sorry. I keep coming back. I sleep, everything." And they're back together. Now, how long this will last, I don't know. I say they're in Italy, and they've been going back and forth so many times. And I know the season's already been filled, but just go to the Domo and get married and be done with it. Call up your family, surprise wedding, get down there and be done with it. On that, because those two, they're either going to get married and have 5 kids and a divorce, or nothing, or one of them's going to kill each other. I don't know. But it's something that I hope Ronnie's another guy who, he's like a guy, Ronnie is like a big guy, very strong, big heart on that. I mean, yeah, he's a player. Actually, no, I take it back. Ronnie's not a player. I don't think he is a player in any way. I think he tries to act like a player. He works out like a player, dresses like a player, you know. But mentally, up here, he has single Ronnie, but he doesn't have that, I don't know, that player thing. Ever since he met Sammy, it's kind of been Sammy, on and off. And every time he does single Ronnie, he comes back to Sammy. Now, go back to the situation. He says, you got to put that cookie away or throw it away or eat, whatever. You've got to do something with it. And they've been going back and forth. Really, be done with it. Get married. This is stupid. It's obvious you two love each other. You obvious here. Ronnie has to be a man, step up, and stop acting like a fool. Sammy has to be the same thing on that. But we'll see how it plays out, because MTV makes money off drama, not off happiness. And I figured out the formula. For every 4 episodes we have one really good episode with romance and everything, and then we have 4 bad episodes. So it kind of works out that way. So we're actually running out of little time. I just want to say one more thing before I let everybody go. Star Wars Blu-ray special edition comes the complete edition. The selling point of this is the hour-long of Empire Strikes Back footage, which has been buried for 30 plus years. We finally get to see the hour of footage that was cut from the film, which I've seen one of the scenes, and it makes sense why it cut, but it really brings an insight, because that scene was actually in the book, because I did read Empire Strikes Back, the book, and it was in the book. But it would have slowed down the whole film, and it made sense. But it's just interesting perspective. But I'll leave you with this thought for old films. If George Lucas claimed he destroyed all the negatives, but all of a sudden he whips out all this stuff, what other films out there, I mean, not George Lucas, but just other films out there that has footage that were great films, but the footage is still lying around, buried in Kentucky. Yeah, and Kentucky is where Hollywood has most of their archives and of cut film, and that's just an interesting thought. I mean, just think about it. Old films, new films, just stuff that was buried that they just will never talk about. Anyway, this is Dinosa. We'll try to get next week's Jersey Shore. Have a good day. Bye.